Namaste. The sage. Inhaling, and subtle shake and a sigh on the exhalation. We're just going to have a little bit of ash, 432 hertz, A-tuned flute. Thank you so much, Ash. Ash is a very healing tree. The third adventure, the fundamental principles. Hili, hewa, kamana, oke, ole, ke, kukakuka. Ideas run wild without discussion. Hili, hewa, kamana, oke, ole, ke, kukakuka. Ideas run wild without discussion. I was told by my teachers that a very long time ago, some wise healers got together to share their observations on life and healing and to put them in a form that could easily be taught and remembered as a craft. Although they could have picked 100 ideas, they chose to express their wisdom as 7 basic principles because of the esoteric symbolism of the number 7. These are essentially principles of manifestation, of the hidden or inner cause of outer events. And in many ancient traditions, the number 7 represents this inner knowledge because it is made up of the numbers 3 and 4. It's the bottom of phi, the golden ratio, the what we call, so 21 over 34, it produces phi, the golden ratio, which is that spiral, the Fibonacci pattern of life. And we call it the center. So if you've got fractal geometry and you have that repeating pattern, either going down to the micro or up to the macro, then within the chaos, the assumed randomness, there is order. And this is the center of the vacuum of equilibrium, the zero gravity, the center point, the vortex, the void in those moments of order which come through the Tesla code of the 3, the 6, the 9. That's why they're giggling. Which in turn represent the primal masculine and feminine forces or polarities of the universe. Not all traditions agree on which is which. However, in Hawaiian, the number 7 is hiku, composed of 2 syllables, he, the feminine principle, meaning to flow, and ku, the masculine principle, meaning to stand firm. And different from our experiences, different cultures, it's not that one is true and one is right and one is not true and one is wrong. They're all true because you literally have to think of the globe, the sphere, as an apple that from the center point has these cones coming out. So you have different segments. And it's literally, when you look at it from a different angle, you get a different perspective. So there's a different perception. So that's why not all cultures agree on the same thing, because they're all from a different angle from the center of the core of Mother Gaia. The 7 Shaman principles. I learned the 7 principles in their Hawaiian form as 7 individual words with many extended meanings. But in order to teach this knowledge in Western culture, I had to translate each word into a basic phrase. It soon became clear that the basic phrases couldn't capture enough of the essence of each principle. So I added several corollaries for each phrase. The principles and corollaries that follow represent a workable philosophy of life and guide to the practice of urban shamancraft. The first principle, Ike. The world is what you think it is. Depending, and see, we relate that to Bruce Lipton epigenetics and belief systems, and epi means above. So it's above genetics, nature, nurture. Nature's your blueprint. Nurture the environment is how the blueprint is expressed. Depending on your point of view, a water gourd can be half empty or half full. Depending on your plans, the rain can be good for the crops or bad for the picnic. Depending on your attitude, a problem can be an obstacle or a challenge. These are clear, obvious, and understandable ways in which our thinking affects our experience. In a more subtle way, but a way very well documented in the fields of psychosomatics, psychoimmunology, and motivational psychology, we know that thoughts of fear, worry, anger, and resentment can make us sick and diminish our effectiveness. And if you go onto Heart Math Institute, you'll see visuals and graph and a lot of information on there about all of that. There's heaps of people doing loads of studies on all of this now. While thoughts of confidence, determination, love, and forgiveness can make us well and increase our performance. Extending into the metaphysical realm, we come across the idea that thoughts will telepathically attract their equivalent. In other words, to put it very simply, positive thoughts will attract positive people and events, and negative thoughts will attract negative people and events. This is less obvious than the previous examples, but millions of people acknowledge the concept, and a careful and honest appraisal of your thoughts and your life will clearly demonstrate the effect. Then there is the deeper esoteric idea shared by many spiritual teachers around the world that your experience is determined by your faith, by what you believe in. And both ancient and contemporary history are full of examples of the power of thought in the form of prayer, faith, and conviction to change physical conditions, events, and circumstances. All of these ideas are included in the first principle of this philosophy, plus a bit more. R's and L's, I thought R's and W's were hard for us, but R's and L's seem to be harder. Corollary. Everything is a dream. In addition to recognizing the effects on experience of attitude, expectation, telepathy, and belief, shamans are also hold the exceptionally subtle idea that life is a dream, that in fact, we dream our lives into being. This does not mean that life is an illusion. It means that dreams are real and reality is a dream. It means that the reality that you are experiencing right now is only one of many dreams. Now, at first, this sounds so weird that it's confusing and seems illogical because you can knock your hand against a wall and feel its solidity. Hello? You can hear the sound around you, and you can see lots of objects in great detail. What's so dreamlike about that? But think for a moment. The wall you knocked your hand against isn't really solid, and neither is your hand. Both are composed of molecules, which are composed of atoms, which are mostly energy fields vibrating at different frequencies. The only reason your hand didn't go through the wall was because both it and the wall are vibrating at frequencies so close in range that they interfere with each other. The little ones love the atom stuff. At the same time, radio and television frequencies, for instance, pass right through the wall and your hand as if they weren't even there. Oh, bless the lovely guy on the CAB phone this morning. He got the little ones and all their speak in their limited language and tears and releasing and sounding to us now, how we talk now, to some others, right up to the quantum physics ones and talking about energy and sending stuff through the quantum field. Bless him, he was lovely. When you struck the wall, you weren't hitting a solid object. Instead, two energy fields met and the information was transmitted to your brain, where it was interpreted by you based on memory as the experience of hitting a wall. And the sound that you hear, let's assume it's music. But it really isn't music. You are hearing it directly. You are experiencing a vibrational wave pattern moving through the air which hits your eardrum and is translated into an electrical nerve impulse received by your brain. And our gut brain is loving this. Our parasympathetic nervous system's kicking in big time. Your brain then gives out a signal that you interpret based on memory again as music. Finally, the objects that you see are only seen because light energy bounces off other energy fields towards your eyes, where the frequencies are translated into patterns that you interpret as objects. What appears to be external reality is really all in your head. Why? That sounds like a dream. While you're still reeling from that, think about this. Have you ever had a dream at night that seemed just as real or even more real than your daily experience? If so, then you know the only way you could tell the difference was that this dream or reality had more memories you could hook into. However, from the shaman point of view, memories are only other dreams. If you've not had such a realistic dream, you may have heard or read about people, mystics, drunks, schizophrenics, people taking drugs, who are sleep deprived, sick, the elderly, children, or shamans who have had what psychologists and psychiatrists like to call hallucinations. That for them were every bit as real or more real than the dream we call ordinary experience. Hallucination means your dream doesn't match my dream. It's interesting because our experience is our dream state doesn't function what we've read about. But I think that's to do with the alternate personalities and their individual conscious and subconscious within our subconscious and within our conscious, and how the split and the separations work that causes the brain separations in the networks that then has its own little network that attaches to part of the lung with one alter, and another part of the lung goes to another alter, etc. But yeah, we had a waking dream state reality, but it wasn't hallucinations. It was all very real, because the adult conscious eyes that have done all this self-awareness and self-growth work for 22 years, since 18, when we attempted suicide and overdosed, was locked inside, didn't have control of the body, didn't have control of the mouth, of the speech, of the words. And it was not always able to stay co-conscious and fence and observe. And we got locked out a lot, especially when they fed us more medication. Because we used to do recreational drugs, but we stopped that like 2011, 2012. 2011, I think. When did we stop drinking alcohol? I think that was before. Couldn't tell you. So yeah, very interesting. And I know that a lot of people think the ayahuasca journey contributed to it. I think part of the ayahuasca medicine 10 months later was still in our system because of the EDS and the fibromyalgia, that when the system started giving me all these different medications, which we'd never gone on before, I think because some of the alters knew we'd have an allergic reaction to it with the autism and with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so then with the ayahuasca in there as well, there was this massive reaction, which gave the seizures. And the positives of the seizures was it enlightened us to the dissociative identity disorder. The positives of the psych ward was it enlightened us to our amazing capabilities of survival. But it also enlightened us to the fact that the deep belief systems that we've had from growing up and from many other people reaffirmed that we're making this up isn't true. Why we always have to be chucked in the deep end to really gain something is one of our patterns. So that does kind of make sense. And there's a lot more, but we won't continue into it. But we have to share these moments without sharing them too much as they come up, because this is a multitude of multitasking of rewiring our brain with the processing language disorder, a rare type of dyslexia, widening our vocabulary, structuring sentences, developing one of the different many types of memory that goes on, and how everything aligns to then when we watch it back and we take notes and analyze it, there's that constant constructive feedback loop of information out of the senses because of our internally deaf, blind and dumb processing model, then in of the senses as we witness ourselves and watch ourselves on the parts that we can't witness and watch ourselves with, to then keep that going on the healing process, multitasking to show others, this is what they taught us in the psych ward, our live reality healing process of to co-consciousness and connection. Which we're doing awfully well at, and I can feel the affirming of that. Also to access the altars that don't want to heal us by doing to the best of our ability in each moment, the continued thing that we've done for years, and to facilitate others' awareness and healing and growth through observing this process, through the healing sounds that we put out. Because then those altars feel useful. And then there's other altars that then watch this back, because while we're reading this, there's some that are listening, but the ones that listen to it when we're reading are they listen to the rhythm, they don't listen to the words. When we're reading, we don't take it in because that's something to do with the rhythm as well. But when they watch it back, or some of them watch it back, so yeah, there's loads. And we're becoming more and more aware and clear of the multitude of finding these common denominators that overlap the altars that can bring them into a functioning whole again in this one body. There'll still be different altars, I'm sure, but we'll be able to, rather than masking it with denial to fit in with society and to be an empath and people pleaser, we will then be able to be in a situation or a circumstance where we'll have the ability to portray ourselves in a certain way that makes us feel comfortable and others feel comfortable in that current environment that we're in. And then truly special people that accept us all and are on a similar resonant frequency and vibration will get to see the truly magnificent, authentic, integral, compassionate us. And we don't need many people in our life anymore from what we've learned with these experiences. Sometime, our rising Leo, Father Sun. Think about the fact that the only test we use for the reality of such experiences is whether or not someone else experienced them. And even that isn't always enough. If you are angry about being left out, or you don't like what others say they've experienced, you can always call it mass hallucination. For the shamans, the experience we call ordinary everyday reality is a mass hallucination, and, or to put it more politely, a shared dream. And if you go onto our Neve Deb Snowflake channel, Don Miguel Ruiz, the Toltec wisdom, and that's the the culture that calls God awareness. He does use the word God as well, but there's somewhere where they say that. They talk about that a lot in all his books. We've got a lot more to upload, which we've downloaded from our Facebook group, that we've got to upload there as well. We love him. It is like we are all having our own individual dreams about life, and the sharing occurs at points of agreement or consensus. If you were in my office right now, we could both agree that I am working at my computer, which has a carving of the word love and a jade carving of a Maori tiki from New Zealand in front of it. We did a major healing of this the other day when we couldn't get to sleep at 4:40 in the morning. Punamu, the Maori jade, very healing heartstone. This isn't the tiki though, obviously, well, not obviously to some. But you might not be able to feel or see the energy field around the jade. And I might not be able to smell your perfume or aftershave lotion, nor hear the music coming from the earphones of your portable cassette player. That's the whole book. Parts of our dreams would be shared and parts would not. Of course, you could always bend closer so I could smell you, and put the earphones on me so I could hear the music. And I could teach you how to sense the jade's energy. But that doesn't prove anything about dreams and reality, because we can learn how to share those other experiences, usually called dreams, as well. Being practical, urban shamans know there is a point to this point of view. If this life is a dream, and if we can wake up fully within it, then we can change the dream by changing our dreaming. We will explore many ways to change the dream of life in this book, most of which will work for you whether you decide that life is a dream or not. But for those who dare to experiment with such an idea, a rich adventure filled with challenge and opportunity will open up for you. Filled with challenge and opportunity will open up for you. Corollary. All systems are arbitrary. There is a story of a young man who embarked on a dangerous and time-consuming journey to find a wise old man and ask him the meaning of life. When at last he confronted the wise one and had asked his question, the old man replied, "Life is just a bowl of cherries." At first, stunned, speechless, and then furiously angry, the young man said, "That's it. I've come all the way here, past oceans and mountains and deserts and jungles, to find you and ask you the meaning of life. And all you have to say is that life is a bowl of cherries?" The old man smiled, shifted his robe, and replied, "All right, so life is not just a bowl of cherries. For untold ages, humans have sought to find the ultimate meaning and the absolute truth, something solid and eternal for their lonos to cling to. They have tried mysticism, religion, science, metaphysics, art, and philosophy in order to make sense of life so they can feel more secure within themselves, and often to control life in order to feel more secure outside of themselves. Shamans have come up with their own solution to the problem of meaning by a logical extension of the ideas that everything is a dream and the world is what you think it is. If those are accepted as basic assumptions, then obviously all meanings are made up and the absolute truth is whatever you decide it is. The meaning of experience depends on your interpretation of it or your decision to accept someone else's interpretation. And the decision to accept a basic assumption is also arbitrary. No, it's not that, lovelies. So they're getting confused with the animal killing place, thinking that's what it was, but I don't think it is, but I haven't got the word. I'm pretty sure it isn't, but I don't have the word for that right now. Abattoir, maybe? Therefore, all systems that describe life and its workings are arbitrarily made up based on certain decisions to accept certain interpretations of experience. So what really matters is not whether a particular system is true, an arbitrary concept, but rather how well it works for you. The system known as Huna, with its 7 principles, is acknowledged as being just as arbitrary and made up as any other system. So it isn't presented as truth, but as a set of hypotheses that allow you to practice shaman craft more effectively. It's similar to learning the scales in music or the rules of perspective in painting so that you can practice those crafts more effectively. The principles of any craft are useful for the practice of that craft, but they don't necessarily apply to a different craft or a different aspect of life. This is why the 7 principles are not presented as dogma, and why they do not have to be defended. If they work for you, use them. If they don't, then use something else. A wise shaman feels free to change systems at will, according to the situation at hand. This corollary also allows a great deal of tolerance for other systems because they aren't seen as antagonistic or threatening, but simply as different points of view. And that's what we've come to believe. It's about everyone needs to find their own internal resonant truth on an atomic level, this physical 3D reality, and on a subatomic level, the subtle energetic body, the 5D reality. And when you've found your own truth of resonance that works for you, which is constantly changing, because the only constant is change, then what's exterior to you, you'll know what's true or not. And there won't be this dissonance and this conflict in knowing what politician or government or media article research is true or not, which we've always found immensely stressful and complicated and hard to do, because there will be this intuitive knowing deep from within you of your senses and your heart, which is a much more expansive electromagnetic field than the one that your electromagnetic brain gives off. And that's Heart Math Institute again, if you want the science to it. And Nassim Haramein, the Resonance Science Project. And then if you want the kiddies ones that brings in all of that with the chemistry and the art and the maths and sacred geometry, then Jane 108. Exploring the power of thought. If the world is what you think it is, then you ought to be able to change your world by changing your thought. Sit up comfortably with your eyes open and turn your head as far as you can to the left and look straight ahead. If you're mirroring, that's my right, which is your left, depending on whichever some of these mirror it. So your left could be our left, but that's our left. Find something in your line of sight that you can remember as a marker and bring your head forward again. Now close your eyes and keep your head still. And imagine that you are slowly turning your head to the left very easily and loosely. We were doing it as well, you see, but visualization, one of the altars was doing it in the head. So that's what that release was. We've become a bit rigid now. I don't think we need a sound. This is the yoga mudra for integration. Yoga mudras are connecting the electromagnetic circuits in the body, connecting the meridians, the same as the Chinese medicine when you put your tongue, when you do Qigong, just behind the teeth, to connect the energy flow circuit in your medial linear, that plane. So we'll start that again, and we won't do it this time so that you can do it. Now close your eyes. Keep your head still and imagine that you are slowly turning your head to the left very easily and loosely, without any strain. Way past the marker until you are looking directly behind you, without any problem at all. Imagine the sensation and the feeling, as well as the sight. Then imagine bringing your head slowly back to the front. Now open your eyes and turn your head physically to the left. To the degree you were able to imagine the feeling in your mind, you will now find that your head moves easily farther than it did before, and your line of sight is well past the marker. This works so well. I've done it before as well. Amazing. What you just did was change your body by changing your mind. You imagined being able to do something different, and your body responded to your thought by changing what was possible only moments before. It's a simple demonstration full of powerful implications. The second principle, Kala. There are no limits. At first glance, this seems absurd because we can experience limitations all around us. Our bodies can only grow so much. We can only see so far. We can only hear within a certain range. We can only live so long without breathing. The earth is only so big, and we have only so much money in the bank. No limits. Yes, no limits. The universe is infinite, as it would have to be if the world is what we think it is, and it's all a dream. How, then, to explain the limitations we experience? One way is to recognize two kinds of limitations, creative and filtered. And it's just making so much more sense as well, because it's the young as oldest perceptions were so distorted because of the trauma and because of the wiring, because of the dyslexia, the processing language disorder, that all we've done on reading, they've misinterpreted it because it's the younger ones that have been reading it. An infinite universe implies infinite experience, which is the same as no experience because there wouldn't be any differentiation, contrast, or sensation change. And the concept, I'm going to have to let in my beautiful boy Zendaya. Oh, so. Come on, my beautiful, when you come. I'm afraid we're just reading on our thingy, but we'll be here with you to give you attention shortly, okay? We change our posture, please. Oopsie daisy. The concept of creative limitation assumes the purposeful establishment of limits within an infinite universe in order to create particular experiences. Our realm of physical experience, for instance, is arbitrarily limited by our natural perceptual range of the frequencies of sight, sound, touch, gravity, distance, and time, to name the most prominent, plus the extensions of those that we can make with mechanical instruments and psychic abilities. Without these apparent limitations, however, we couldn't even experience the dimension. If you assume an infinite universe, there is no logical reason why there couldn't be other beings just as physically real to themselves as we are to ourselves, who see in the frequency range of ultraviolet, hear in the range of ultra high frequency, and touch in the range of radio waves. For all we know, each of us experiences the other's slight intrusions into our home ranges as static. So this physical universe of our perception may be the effect of creative choices of limiting factors on the part of God or our own higher selves that enable us to experience life on Earth. Let's bring this topic down to a more manageable scale. Life is like a game of checkers. If it can be a bowl of cherries, it can be a game of checkers. On the checkerboard, representing the physical dimension, there are 64 squares, half black and half red, and 24 checkers, 12 of each colour. At the start of the game, you have your pieces ranged on one side and your partner has his ranged on the other. The rules say that you can move forward and take your partner's pieces when you jump them, and double up or king your piece when you reach the other side, which gives you freedom to move in any direction. Now, actually, there is nothing really preventing you from kinging all your pieces before you start, grabbing your partner's pieces whenever you want to, or throwing his pieces across the room so he can't move them. You could do that, but you wouldn't be playing checkers anymore. The rules of the game are limitations created so you can play the game. That's how the shaman views life. Only the shaman's game is more like using the same board but changing the rules and the pieces so that you can play chess, thereby expanding the possibilities of experience within the same dimension. Or now you've got three-dimensional chess, haven't you? Rather than flat two-dimensional. Creative limitation allows us to improve it's got different tiers, allows us to improve our creative abilities by enforcing a focus on a certain range and interpretation of experience. Even in the limited game of chess, humans' minds have still not figured out all of the possibilities. In contrast, filtered limitation is used here to mean limitations imposed by ideas and beliefs that inhibit creativity rather than enhance it, like beliefs that engender helplessness and hopelessness, or revenge and cruelty. Recently, I spoke with a person who expressed helpless rage at a world full of pain and suffering. And we were discussing this in a place full of love and peace and harmony. This person's obsession with suffering was filtering and out contrary experiences and making it nearly impossible to do anything about the suffering. Filtered limitations generate focus without the potential for positive action. Corollary: everything is connected. In many traditional shamanic cultures, the idea that everything is connected is usually represented by the symbol of a spider web. The shaman is the spider who weaves the web of life. in a lucid dream out of fine threads that come from within. The web not only represents the dreaming of life, but also the interconnectedness. Every part of life is connected to every other part, and what affects one affects all to varying degrees. A single thought of love or hate affects the whole universe, but your body will probably be more affected than the star Betelgeuse. Just as a fly or leaf will affect the part of the web it touches more than the rest, though the whole web may quiver. Although the web is a common traditional metaphor used to explain an actual metaphysical connection between everything, some people might find it easier to think of the connection in terms of an electromagnetic metaphor of fields within fields in infinite array. By assuming such an interconnectedness, we can assume the possibility of influence at a distance, which the shamans do, and which they use for many types of healing and manifesting. Corollary: anything is possible. These are the 7 fundamentals, and then the description. Yeah, that's right, lovely. Well done for catching up. Anything is possible. If there are no limits, then of course anything is possible. All you have to do is believe it, which comes from the first principle. However, because you are not alone in the universe, the degree to which something can be shared depends on the beliefs of others around you. You may be able to levitate in the privacy of your bedroom, but you might not be able to do so in the presence of others because of their disbelief. On the other hand, someone else's belief in levitation may be so strong that you can do it in their presence, but not when you are with others or by yourself. Travel between the stars is possible, but the only way it is expressible in our current culture is through movies or books, except for the claims of certain individuals who may or may not have had a physical experience. According to Christian scripture, even Jesus had difficulty in his hometown doing miracles because the people didn't believe the carpenter's son could or should have such powers. As has been pointed out to me, however, other interpretations of this event are possible. At any rate, the more people who believe that the change you want to make is possible, the easier it will be to make it. Corollary: separation is a useful illusion. I have known people to get so caught up in the idea and experience of connections and relatedness that they are immobilized by the fear of unforeseen consequences springing from their slightest thought or action, or they drown in empathy with the pain and suffering of others. At such times, it is healthy to inject a little creative separation in order to function better. Fear makes you lose sight of your role as the dream weaver, and the assumption for a while of the independence of all things will help you bring you back into balance. Likewise, pure empathy makes you as helpless as the one suffering. A solution is to add a dose of separation by switching to compassion, in which you are aware of the suffering while realizing it isn't happening to you. Then you can help the sufferer move out of it. The main point is there really are no limits. So as an urban shaman, you can feel free to create limits when it's useful to do so. Exploring energy connections. With another person or several, put your hands out, palm to palm, a couple of inches apart. You may soon feel a sense of warmth. You can rub them together first if you like, until they warm up, and then bring them back so you stimulate the tingling first. A coolness or a tingling. If you move your hands toward your partners very slightly, you may even feel a sense of pressure. As if you were pushing against a magnet or a very light balloon. Now, move your hands even farther away and check for sensations again. How much you can feel as you move farther away will depend on your sensitivity. The most important thing is to realize that you have been touching that person directly. You were touching his or her energy, which is as intimately a part of a person as the body. We do not end at our skin. Our energy or spirit extends to the ends of the universe. We are all connected to everything because there are no limits. That's what we were trying to tell the 8 people that were restraining us that got down to 6. And then all 6 of them were pinning us down on the bed. And I was attempting to say to them to just move 3 foot away because your physical body aura goes out 3 foot. And then I won't be picking up on all their fear and the body will relax, which is what they were telling us to do. We tried all kinds of things. The younger ones came out and tried their thing, which didn't go down too well because that was sticking our tongue in one of the guy's ears. So I'm just going to do this. Rub the hands together. Warm them up. Feel sensation. Close the eyes to bring myself into my internal world. And then just bring them apart and see what I feel. So I feel quite a bit there. Now I'm just going to bring them to the screen just out of a curiosity to see what goes on. I'm just going to link the thumbs. I'm not sure what went on there. Something went on. Interesting experiment. See what it's like when we're on the other side. The third principle, Makia. Energy flows where attention goes. 2 of the most successful and long practice techniques used by shamans are meditation and hypnosis, because both make use of the third principle. Meditation means a lot of different things to people using different systems. For some, it conjures up thoughts of a lonely monk in the cell of a monastery, dwelling on the presence of God. Others think of yuppies sitting cross-legged in a circle, chanting mantrams in a language they don't understand. And others think of sipping tea while watching the sun go down. All of these and others like them are techniques or styles of meditation. Meditation itself simply means to think deeply and continuously In other words, sustained focused attention. The word comes from a Latin root, med, meaning to measure, which is shared with a word meaning to heal. That leads to the word medical. You are meditating whenever you are engaged in sustained focused attention on anything. And according to the philosophy, such attention channels the energy of the universe into manifesting the physical equivalent of the focus. However, the manifestation is not just the equivalent of what you are looking at, saying, listening to, or doing. It is the equivalent of the sum total of your entire intention, including habitual expectation during the meditation. To put it another way, whenever Lono is meditating, Ku is meditating too. Part of one's development as a shaman involves learning how to get Lono and Ku to meditate on the same thing at the same time. Then the magic happens. Hypnosis is just another kind of meditation. There is no generally agreed on definition of hypnosis because some people treat it as a process and others as a state. The process is of no interest here, but the state is. So for us, when we did our hypnotherapy and our self-hypnosis, we were very left brain, logical, see it to believe it. And the creativity side, the abstract, artistic imagination side, the dream state wasn't accessible. So for us, hypnotherapy is getting the brain wavelengths into theta and coming at that theta dream state healing from waking state, beta. So you go beta, alpha, theta, and then the really fast ones are gamma. So, and then when you've got, like if you're going to a shamanic journey inwards or a guided journey, or if you're doing dream state healing or healing before you're programming your subconscious mind before you go to bed, or you're doing astro travel or lucid dreaming, then you come into those theta deep healing meditative wavelengths, theta, from your dream state. As a state, hypnosis is simply a condition of sustained focused attention, just like meditation. The major difference is that meditation is considered to be more spiritual and hypnosis to be more practical. Meditation is used for clearing karma and reaching enlightenment, while hypnosis is used for stopping smoking and losing weight. The person that we went to as well would get to the root cause of something rather than the surface stuff. Mind you, he was the one that sent us the message saying that we were on Groundhog Day when we're suicidal after the seizures. We reached out to him. Yeah, it took us 2 weeks to get out of that one. The fact is, you could use either one for the same thing. Hypnosis used to be distinguished by the use of an assistant called a hypnotist who helped you into the focused state. But guided meditation has eliminated that distinction. It's only because I'm pretty sure he doesn't agree by multiple personality disorder, DID, and he definitely doesn't agree with ayahuasca medicine and stuff. So his belief systems was challenged, and he sent it at 11 o'clock at night on Facebook. So we think we triggered him emotionally, and he probably had a drink or something. But still, very highly unprofessional and almost detrimental to our health, our living health. And meditation always used to be a private thing. But self-hypnosis has removed that difference. As processes, both meditation and hypnosis are simply different techniques for doing the same thing. Refocusing your attention toward more positive beliefs and expectations. As states, both are identical conditions of sustained focused attention. Any difference can be attributed to the object of focus. Since energy flows where attention goes, those aspects of your present experience which seem enduring are the effect of habitual, sustained, focused attention carried on by your ku. If you like what you've got, that's great. If you don't, then you need to find some way to shift your ku's attention into a new pattern. Meditation and hypnosis are good tools for that, and I'll give you some others later on. Corollary: attention goes where energy flows. Attention is quite naturally attracted to bright lights, shiny objects, and loud noises. But we might not realize that the common factor of all three is their energy intensity. Attention is attracted to any strong source of energy that stimulates any of our senses, even those subtle senses of which most people are unaware. Certain people, because of their emotional intensity or sensory focus, have such a strong aura or energy field that they automatically attract the attention of others whenever they come into view. On a larger scale, some geographical areas, usually areas of high earthquake activity or potential, have a higher energy intensity than others, thereby attracting greater populations, which increase the energy even more. Much is written nowadays about sacred power spots, but I think their power is a passive one that allows you to relax and distress from the really active power spots on urban centres. The tingling sensations and psychic phenomena experienced at such places occur as you begin to relax, and your bottled up energy from the more highly active place you came from begins to flow. Human beings are such energy generators themselves. However, that if a lot of them move to a nice, quiet, passive power spot, they can soon turn it into an active, dynamic, and possibly stressful power spot. Corollary: everything is energy. It is not new to either physics or metaphysics to say that everything is energy. But the logical implications are interesting because they include the idea that thought is energy and that one kind of energy can be converted into another kind of energy. This happens when the pressure energy of steam pushes a turbine to convert magnetic energy into electrical energy. And it happens when electrical energy pushes through a resistant wire to produce heat for an iron. Heat is also generated when a group of human beings in a room get excited or do certain breathing or meditative exercises. We saw one of these designs. We really want it. You put it over your shoulders, so it'll help keep our shoulders down. And then it curves around and you get to rest your arms in it. And then you can read your book and it doesn't hurt. But we've never been able to find it since. But maybe we've talked about it now, it might pop up. Because this is hard. But that's okay. We will push through and then rest. This idea also provides a neat explanation of how thought can produce its physical equivalent, especially when amplified by emotion and/or confidence. Exploring energy flow. To demonstrate how energy flows where attention goes, and how thought affects physical energy, pick up a chair by its seat and feel the weight of it. Then put it back down. Now focus your attention on the very top of the chair's back and pick it up by the seat again. If your focus is good, the chair will feel lighter, regardless of how you want to explain it. The practical fact is that if you have to lift anything, you will find it easier to do if your attention is focused on the very top of the object, or even in the air a foot above it. One of my students, a rather short woman, very proudly told me that she went to a garden shop and bought a concrete statue for a pedestal she had in her yard. 2 husky clerks carried it out to her station wagon and she went home. There she realised she had no one to help her move the heavy statue out of the car, up a slope to her gate. "20 feet farther into her yard and up into the pedestal. After carrying somewhat in frustration, after crying somewhat in frustration, she remembered what she knew about focus and energy flow and used it in short spurts to do the whole job all by herself." Yeah, we've done that. One of you've learned that, haven't you? You've done that before. God, it's triggering off memories, this, isn't it? The 4th principle, manawa. Now is the moment of power. No, no. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. In some Eastern traditions, as well as some Western metaphysical ones, your present circumstances are the effect of decisions and actions in your past lives. If those were good decisions and actions, you have good experiences now. But if they were bad ones, you have pain, suffering, and sorrow now to the same degree you gave it out in one or more of those other lives. We must have lived some bad lives. This is called karma, a Sanskrit word usually translated as cause and effect. And Saturn is the planet of karma, action, 3D, or reward and debt, but which really means action and reaction. The good actions you perform now create good karma, and the bad actions you perform now create bad karma. But for your next lives, in these traditions, karma isn't usually something you can change. All you can do is reap the rewards or work off the debts of the past. We've got altars up here going now, yeah, but good and bad are in the world of duality, not in the core. And it's like, yes, you're right, but not for now. No right or wrong, because that's in the duality too. One common Western tradition holds that you are rewarded in this life for obeying specific social or religious rules and punished in this life for breaking those rules, no matter how long ago you obeyed them or broke them, nor whether or not anyone was there to see you do it. Some people trained in this tradition may carry 20 years of guilt for having driven past a stop sign in the Arizona desert at 2 a.m., 100 miles from any other human soul. Another, more modern Western tradition lays the praise or blame for your present attitude, actions, and circumstances on heredity and your early social environment. The implication is that you were shaped by forces beyond your control and cannot be held responsible for what your genes, your parents, or society did to you. The shamanic tradition, both warrior and adventurer versions, is in stark contrast to the above views. It says that the past did not give you what you have today, nor make you what you are today. It is your beliefs, decisions, and actions today about yourself and the world around you that give you what you have and make you what you are. Karma exists and operates only in the present moment. Your environment and circumstances in this moment are the direct reflections of your mental and physical behavior in this moment. Thanks to memory, we may carry over habits of body and mind from day to day, but each day is a new creation, and any habit can be changed in any present moment, although that doesn't mean it will be easy. And Bruce Lipton, Epigenetics. Your genes do not determine what you are or what occurs in your body. Instead, as an effect of your beliefs, you select out of the immense resources of your gene pool those characteristics that best reflect your present beliefs and intentions. In the same way, your parents or social background have nothing to do with your present circumstances. But what you believe about them now and how you react to those beliefs now most certainly does. To the degree that you change yourself in the present moment, your thoughts and your behavior, you change your world. Over and over again, my students and I have witnessed dramatic changes in personality and circumstances the moment a person decides to make a dramatic change in thought and behavior. I will mention only one such change right now. It took place in Tahiti after I had done a training there. One of my students, a Tahitian woman, had had a long-standing feud with her sister over some property, to the extent that her sister was taking her to court in a very nasty way. After mulling over the teaching the night I left, this woman decided to say a prayer of forgiveness for her sister, no matter what she had done or would do. The very next morning, her sister called, said she had thought the whole matter over and decided to drop the lawsuit and not dispute the property anymore. Corollary: everything is relative. Now is the moment of power, but how do we define what now is? The easiest and most practical definition is the area or range of present attention. So now might be this second, this minute, this hour, day, month, or year, depending on your focus. But using this definition involves accepting as now elements of what we would ordinarily call past and future. As in the case of focusing our attention on the present day, month, or year. And that's exactly right. What we call the future is only the future relative to what we define as the present moment. And the same is true for the past. If our attention is broad enough, we can even bring awareness of past and future lives into the present moment, if you believe in them. When our attention and awareness bring aspects of the past and future into the present moment, they are within the range of our power to change them, which means that from the present we can change the past and the future. Get your head around that one. Corollary: power increases with sensory attention. There are a lot of people living in the world today who aren't even here. Most of their attention is focused on memories of the past, projections into the future, fantasies of alternative worlds, or on themselves, to the degree that diminish their awareness of the present moment during such ruminations. Their power and effectiveness in the present also decreases. When done occasionally or critically for relaxation, recreation, inspiration, planning, or self-development, there can be great benefit in withdrawing from the present world. But there is a point of diminishing returns, which varies with individuals if such focus is carried on for extended periods. Unfortunately, some people are obsessively locked into the past, future, or elsewhere because of great fear and anger. Guilt, resentment, and worry keep them out of the present and away from the joys of life. Much of the fear and anger can be dissipated by shifting focus to the sensory present. Although people who have decided that the present moment is a dangerous place will have more difficulty doing that. What does it mean to focus on the sensory present? And what are the effects of doing that? It means being more and more consciously aware of the input from your senses. So few people practice real sensory awareness, that it is sometimes taught as a meditation technique. And some people do it so well, quite unconsciously, that they have a profound impact on others around them without even trying. The effects occur as a result of the third principle. Energy flows where attention goes. As you place more and more attention on the input from your senses, you may progress through experiences of heightened sensory acuity, relaxation, awareness of energy flow in and around you, awareness of more happening around you than you usually notice, all the way to an increasing realization of the dream-like quality of physical reality and an awareness of becoming lucid in the dream. Some of it may frighten you with its strangeness, and some of it may cause you to feel like bursting with joy. On the other hand, a half-hearted effort will probably just make you feel bored. An indication of the shamanic understanding of this practice is contained in the meanings of the Hawaiian word for it, anu, 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 and its variant, anu. The present moment, seed, likeness, peacefulness, or holy, sacred, intensive fire, a plus no. Exploring the present moment. Wherever you are, become aware of the colors in your environment. The whites, reds, oranges, yellows, greens, blues, violets, and blacks. Then look at all the straight and curved lines you can see, the shapes of objects and the spaces between them. Next, listen. Listen to all the sounds you can hear from all directions. Fridge squeak. Behind, left. Laptop humming. Left guts intestines. And then feel the position of your hands and feet, your body as a whole. The sensation of your clothing and whatever you are touching. the movement of your breathing. And as best you can, the energy in and around you. Finally, add other senses like taste and smell. Got essential oils on. If you wish, and let your attention roam among all your senses, seeking more and more and more awareness of each. Do this for as long as you like during any kind of activity, and decide for yourself whether it is worth following up on. Just remember that this kind of focus is a skill that can be developed. The present moment is a very rich field for experience and adventure. So one of the modern terminologies for that is mindfulness. Like putting a peanut in your mouth, sucking it, feeling its texture, tasting it, crunching it, etc. The fifth principle, aloha. To love is to be happy with. Love is a word that many people find hard to understand because its use in English has become quite sloppy. Laughing at the red pen. Did we do that? Did we? It is used to denote pleasure. I love ice cream. Sexual desire. I want to make love to you. Intention. I'd love to get my hands on that. As a measure of caring. If you love me, you'll do what I want. And to express addictive need. I'll die without your love. The effects of love in contemporary song and story even sound like vitamin deficiencies. Insomnia, upset stomach, loss of appetite, weak knees, heart palpitations, dizziness, sweaty hands, fever, chills, etc. In Hawaiian, the meaning of love is very clear, and it provides a useful guideline for loving and being loved. Aloha is the word for love. The root, alo, means to be with, to share an experience, here and now. The root oha means affection, joy. Thus, the full translation of aloha becomes, to love is to be happy with. This means that love exists to the degree that you are happy with the object of your love. In any relationship with a person, place, or thing. The happy part comes from love, and the unhappy part comes from fear, anger, and doubt. You don't get sweaty hands from being in love. You get them from fear. You don't get hurt from being in love. You get hurt from anger. What you get from being in love is happiness, the intensity of it depending on how deeply you are in love. To be deeply in love means to be deeply connected. And the depth and clarity of the connection increases as fear, anger, and doubt are removed. Corollary. Love increases as judgment decreases. I once attended a workshop called Actualizations, known to some as Est with Heart, which basically consisted of a few meditative exercises and a lot of personal sharing. By the middle of the second day, the love and affection among us was already getting thick, and by the third day, there were 100 people in love. The workshop facilitator was honest enough to admit that they didn't try to make that happen. They didn't even know how it happened. It just did. When you know how love works, however, it's easy enough to understand. 100 strangers get together without any expectations or history other than what they chose to share. And all they got from sharing was acknowledgement and support without criticism or judgment. Fear, anger, and doubt were not present, and so love was the love. And so the love is actually always there. It's just that fear, anger, and doubt cover it up. Fear, anger, and doubt give rise to negative criticism and judgment, which cause separation, which diminishes love. Criticism kills relationships. On the other hand, praise builds and rebuilds them, because praise is an act of love, being happy with, that clarifies and strengthens relationships. Because of the third principle, when you give praise, you reinforce the good that you praise, and it increases and grows. When you criticize, you reinforce the bad that you don't like, and it also increases and grows. A new relationship is usually full of fun, happiness, and excitement, because the tendency at first is to notice and dwell only on what is good in each other. As doubt about yourself, each other, or the relationship in general is allowed to come out, then the tendency is toward criticizing perceived or imagined faults and failings. If this happens quickly and openly, it's a short-lived relationship. And if it happens slowly and subtly, it's a long, unhappy relationship that breaks when one partner can't stand it anymore. To be blunt, the relationship contains more pain than pleasure. The relationship in the process of falling apart because of criticism can be revived and made happy, again by removing criticism and adding strong doses of praise and compliments. This is easier if both partners participate. It is possible, but difficult if only one does it. The key to success here is simply to increase your appreciation of what you do like about your partner and increase your tolerance of what you don't like. Telepathic praise is just as important as verbal praise and is sometimes a better way to begin. Corollary. Everything is alive, aware, and responsive. For the shaman, life is not limited to plants, animals, and humans, because life is defined as movement. Some things move very slowly, like rocks. And And some things move very quickly, like light. For the shaman, these are simply different kinds of life. Also operating from the second principle, since the source of life is infinite and the source is self-aware. Everything must be self-aware and therefore responsive in some degree to what happens around it. Therefore, the shaman, especially the adventurer shaman, tries to act respectfully toward everything. This might be considered sweetly quaint, except that it has a very practical purpose. Your ku is alive, aware and responsive. When you criticize yourself, your ku feels under attack and tries to defend itself by clenching muscles, which causes stress and inhibits awareness, memory, and energy flow, making you weaker and more subject to illness and accident. One little criticism isn't going to do that, but a habit of self-criticism will. Self-appreciation, by contrast, relaxes muscles, increases awareness, energy flow, and strength, opens up skill memory, and makes you feel better. When you criticize or praise any part of the world around you, 3 things happen. First, because of the second principle, your ku does not distinguish between you and your dream. So whether you criticize another person, a rainy day, your car, or the government, your ku takes it personally and your body gets tense. And when you praise any of those things, your ku says thank you and your body relaxes. Second, because of the third principle, whatever characteristics or conditions you focus on will tend to increase according to the responsiveness of the object. If you criticize a person who values your opinion, your criticism, even well meant, will tend to reinforce the behavior you criticized. If they improve, it will be in spite of your criticism, not because of it. If the person couldn't care less about your opinion, however, your criticism will have virtually no effect on them, but it will still affect you. Praising a person will help reinforce the good that you like, regardless of whether they care about your opinion or not, because the ku always responds in some way to love. Likewise, if you criticize the rain, it will do what you don't want. And if you praise it, it will rain just enough. If you criticize your car, it will tend to break down more and more. And if you praise it, it will tend to run better. And if it must break down, it will be conveniently. And pay attention now to the more you criticize government actions you don't like, the more the government will tend to do more of them. And the more you praise what you do like, the more those activities will be increased. Third, because of this fifth principle, each criticism will increase your separation from and decrease your awareness of what you criticize, until you end up responding to a secondary creation of your own, and that may no longer bear any resemblance to the original. Each praise will bring you closer and closer to and increase your awareness of what you praise, thereby expanding your growth in many ways. An important issue is what to do when you are criticized by someone else. There are a lot of good teachings out on this subject, so I will only present one here that is derived directly from the current principle. The example I use is an extreme one, but the application will be clear. In old Hawaii, there was a lot of fear of curses, which are just criticisms phrased like a thread. Because of a prevailing belief in the power of words. Whenever the people had contact with shamans, however, there was no such fear for the very same reason. The shaman teaching was that the power of a curse could be neutralized and offset by the power of a blessing, which is just a compliment phrased like a promise. So if an angry man said to a farmer, "May your crops rot and wilt," the farmer would look lovingly at his field and say, "May my crops grow and produce abundantly." The effect of the curse would be nil and the crops would get a good boost of energy. Applying the same idea personally would simply mean that whenever you are criticized, praise yourself aloud or silently, and the criticism will have no effect on you as long as you don't fear it. Exploring the power of love. I'm going to ask you to do something that you may never have done before. For 1 full minute, sit quietly, close your eyes, and compliment yourself increasingly for any good quality, characteristic, or behavior you can think of. It's okay to repeat yourself if you can't think of a lot to say. With practice, it gets easier. If negative responses or self-criticisms arise spontaneously, don't give them any importance. Just keep on complimenting. It's also okay to do this for more than a minute. When you're finished, be aware of your feelings and sensations. You will almost always feel a lot better. Next, for 1 full minute, sit with your eyes open and compliment any good quality, characteristic, or behavior you can be aware of in your immediate environment. Again, don't pay any attention to criticisms and go longer if you like. Isn't that a great way to feel? So we're just going to do that. So we invite you to close your eyes and for 1 full minute, sit quietly and compliment yourself. Off you go. Okay. Now we invite you to open your eyes. And for another whole full minute, compliment any good quality, characteristic, or behavior you can be aware of in your immediate environment. So off we go. I invite you to exhale. Inhale. And sigh and subtly shake on the exhale. And we're going to leave the sixth principle and onwards, mana, all power comes from within, for next time. Namaste. I'm just going to inclined to end with a bit of flute again. Almost time.